Hello, my name is Caroline. Welcome to another Terroir Champagne Substack. Today, I am very lucky to be joined with Lyn Archer uh, of the Substack Tête de Bulle. So, Lyn, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm just so honored to be here, Carolyn. I've followed you for a number of years, and so thank you. Um, I am a writer, image maker, and a bubblehead. I I primarily focus on traditional method sparkling wines from untraditional regions and also sustainability. And I'm also, as you said, the founder and editor of Techtable, which is a Substack that is about all things bubbles and culture.
Mm, very good. So, you said that you are interested in sparkling wine, traditional sparkling wine, like méthode champenoise, which we cannot use anymore, méthode traditionnelle, from regions that normally that are less traditional, that we don't talk so much about. So there are several places in the US, I find out, where we make sparkling wine. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that sparkling wine market.
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, the US is, as you know, uh, a conglomerate of 50 different states
Yes.
with a total of about 277 AVAs, which are American viticultural areas, similar to your AOCs.
Mhm.
And each region, each state has their own climates, their own uh, soils and topography and rules and regulations. So it is quite complex. And right now, traditional method sparkling wine is being made throughout the country, particularly in regions like New York, upstate Finger Lakes, and on Long Island,
Mhm.
New Jersey, Virginia, uh, Midwest in Michigan, as far Southwest like Texas and New Mexico, and then of course on the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. So quite diverse.
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, and what type of grape varieties? Because you mentioned the first state, you mentioned New York. I know that they have quite a lot of hybrid grape varieties. I don't know if they use them in sparkling wine or if they go with the traditional Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, or do you have any idea of the grape varieties they
Uh,
use?
well, as far as New York goes, I know that they do use hybrids, and I do also know that they one of the things that they're becoming more and more renowned for are their sparkling Rieslings.
Okay.
Another state that uses another state that's quite facile in hybrids is Michigan, upstate Michigan. Um, Things like Vignole, which is, um, it's got some Pinot Noir in it. The other thing that is kind of interesting, I guess I could jump in and geek out here a minute on just the history of United States sparkling wine started with a hybrid Catawba, which I
Okay.
think it's a cross between, Venus Lambrusco, which is US, and, I think Semillon, and, that that is what kicked off the whole sparkling wine, industry in the United States in the 1840s, and then it moved over to the West.
1840s?
Yeah, there was a
So it goes
gentleman in
back quite a long time, actually.
yeah, there was a gentleman, he was an attorney and a wine grower, and he made some still wine. He started making wine out of Catawba, and just a freak accident. He it went through second fermentation bottle by accident, and he got this sparkling wine out of it, and it became quite popular. And so that and actually, I believe Longfellow wrote a poem about it, like Ode to the Catawba or something like that.
Wow.
Anyway,
And you
then
said it was a freak accident.
yeah,
It's a
totally
bit a
freak
bit like
accident.
champagne. It was,
Exactly.
discovered by accident, if we can say it.
Yes, exactly, all because of in invert and secondary fermentation in bottle. And then this Longworth gentleman, he decided to invest in it and brought over champagne um, sparkling winemakers to teach the method and so on and so forth. And then from there, he ended up going bankrupt and not doing so well. But from there, it had jumped over to New York, and then I think by the 1880s, it moved over to California. So yeah,
Okay.
all because of an accident and
It's
hybrid.
it's a fascinating history. It's amazing it didn't start in California. I thought, obviously when we think of, I know there's wine in almost all 50 states of the US, but normally when we think here of wine, we think of obviously the West Coast, so mainly California, which is also where a lot of the Champenois have started companies. So, that's maybe why we thought that. And this sparkling wine made in the US, uh, we can't find it here in France. I think maybe there's some in the UK, but where is it sold? Is it sold locally? Do you know anything? How much of a percentage is it of the um, the wine market? Is it like in the UK a majority, or is it a still wine a majority still in the US? Or
Well, it's growing. As a matter of fact, TTB, which is our U.S. Alcohol, Tobacco, and Bureau, it recorded that there was a 2% increase in the market for sparkling wine, where the other still wine uh, just hasn't grown that much. And I believe this morning there was a report that came out from Wine Business Analytics that says that the market for sparkling wine, everybody's decreasing. It declined less than 2%. And I also read another report that is more, from European um, outlet, and it shows that there's a consumer growth index showing that between 2025 and 2033, the market is predicted to grow 9.9%.
okay, the sparkling wine, because
Yeah.
OIV data shows that it tripled between 2000 and, well, 2002, I think, and 2024, if I remember. So basically, in the first quarter century, the sparkling wine market, both in production and in consumption, significantly grew. Um, and this is one of the things I've been saying. We got the latest figures of the champagne sales last week, I think, and we see, they continue to fall. Between, since December, there's another 1 million bottles that went under. So we are obviously not hanging on to that share that champagne had, because from the beginning of the years 2000, when I went over 300 million bottles, it went a little bit before, but then with the spike up and down around the new year, all the sales at that time. um After that, basically we had a um you know huge demand, which was peaking so much in 2008, that obviously, 2007, 2008, that everybody was talking about the expansion of the appellation. There was the financial crisis, or the stock market crash, and Champagne actually never managed to, get back to that market share it had at that time. However, in the last 3 years, it lost like a lot of, like 60 million bottles, basically, which is quite a lot. which obviously is impacting production at that time as well, because the production is based on future sales forecasts, and we have a lot of stock still. So there's all these different things. So it's really interesting to hear that it is growing in the US, and that US wineries are able to you know buy into this growth, okay, that people are buying domestic products. So maybe you talked about the history a little bit,
Mhm.
and we know here, anyone from Europe, um, or even when I was still living in New Zealand, but I think I'm still European. So when I remember the first time I went to the States on a wine business, and I saw that champagne was like really bad sparkling wine. There was also Chablis that I was thinking, what the hell is this? And then, there was Burgundy. I was like, hold on a second, what is going on here? But because it's like really shocking for, from a person that doesn't come from this. So why do we have these type of wines? We're talking about sparkling wine. So why do we have champagne in America that is not from Champagne? And why is it of such bad quality?
Well,
Sorry. Is that difficult?
I think you're talking about Corbel and
Yes,
um, with a
but
K.
they're not the only one, I think.
Well, because there was a trade regulation that was put in place, and I want to say it was, let me see here. Let me see if I've got that. 2006, March of 2006. There was a trade, some kind of a trade agreement with the EU, and
Yeah.
and it said it was specifically there that the US could not use the term champagne on their sparkling wine bottles. However, they grandfathered in any wine that had the label on it prior to March of 2006. So, winemakers like Corbel, who started making wine in the 1800s,
Hmm.
called it California champagne. They were grandfathered in, and I can't speak to
And
the
they
quality.
continue to be grandfathered in.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so having a label on the bottle doesn't mean that you were selling bottles at the time. That means that you made wine already, which was known as champagne, and therefore, you can continue to call it champagne. Is that what it means?
That's yeah. So those winemakers who had made quote unquote American champagne prior to March of 2006 could continue doing that because they were grandfathered in. Yeah.
Okay, and so they are the traditional wineries making sparkling wine, and they probably are not, mm, the best sparkling wine makers that you have in America.
Well, I can't. In all honesty, Carolyn, the only one I know about is Corbel, and
Okay.
if you talk to the people at Corbel, they stand by their quality. So I can't
Well,
really.
I mean, it's at a completely different price point as well.
Yeah,
When we talk quality, we talk quality at, perceived quality. Do we think it is great? Um,
but I would like to,
it
if you
was
don't.
bizarre tasting. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I can imagine. But just to get back to your original point you made, there are quite a few Champenois in California that
Mhm.
arrived in the 1980s,
Yeah.
and they were drawn by the region, and they were intent on making quality product. And so Domaine Corneros from Tanger and uh, Roederer,
Roger
and
Estate, yes.
and even Shandong,
Yeah, Chandon.
they all, and part of that shows in their farming methods and their aging methods.
Mhm.
They have invested in growing sustainably.
Mhm.
All of them. except for Shandong. I'm not sure Shandong is Napa Green, but they all have some kind of a sustainability certification, and they're all Shandong. I think the last time I checked, most
I'm sure they're
aging.
going regenerative because they're going regenerative with all their vineyards,
Yeah,
LVMH, all over the world. So, you know, I think that they will have to do the same
yeah,
thing. So that
yeah.
means that they need to have some kind of other. Here in France, they were talking about going certifying Régien Agri. So I guess it's similar things. Because when I spoke to the lady, I wrote an article on this ages ago for Wine Searcher. They were talking, the lady that I spoke to at that time, sorry, I forgot her name. I'm not good at names. She explained that they wanted to go for regenerative organic certified for the
Uh-huh,
vineyards that they had. They had two in Argentina at that time.
uh-huh.
And that for the others, they wanted to bring them along, but maybe not. But she did mention, I think they in Calistoga, I think they are. Uh, Well, somewhere in California. Uh,
Yeah.
I visited it, but I'm sorry, I can't remember. But anyway, I know that they did this. And what about American sparkling wine not coming from Champenois? Like I visited Tramsburg ages ago and the wine was amazing.
Oh,
Really surprised.
that's the oldest American-made traditional method sparkling house in California, founded, I think, in 1962 by the Davises. And they really, yeah, that is high quality bubbles. They
That's
really,
very good, yeah.
and they really focus on extended aging. So
Yeah.
and they have beautiful, yeah. It's anybody who is from Champagne who visits there will feel quite at home because they have an extended uh cave
Aging.
top. Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but the wines are beautiful.
yeah.
Um, I think the last time I visited there, I stopped by 19, I can't remember, but I went twice, and I really, I was really, really impressed with the wines. Um, and so you spoke about sustainability. So how do we grow? Do we grow similar as here in Champagne, which normally is high density, but we are opening up to lower density now as well? Or is it like in New Zealand and South Africa, lower density, so rows of 2 meters, density of between 4,000, 6,000 plants on average? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that originally, particularly in California, the it was the larger, wider spaces with the low with maybe 4 to 900 plants per acre or 11 to 12, 2,200 plants per hectare.
Wow.
But now, but, and that was to fit a tractor because you have to
Okay.
keep in mind that a lot of these regions were formerly agricultural areas. And so people were
Okay. So they have
converting.
the huge tractors, like, all
Yeah, no
right,
trouble.
okay.
No, Sean and so, but again, just to go back to, the whole idea of quality, um, sparkling wine centers around these things like high density plantings, and so you will find that with the Chef and Law, and you will find that with, the quality producers, and I would have to point out that one region in particular who has been committed to high density is Oregon from the get-go. I mean, they were committed to just doing things that their primary interest in growing grapes in Oregon from the start has been to make quality fine wine. And so to
Okay.
do that, they studied the Burgundian model and they really took it to heart.
But I know the density. There's a lot of talk whether it's higher quality or lower quality or different kind of things. I think maybe the density is maybe not the only point to look at. It is the yields, which obviously we in Champagne we have very high yields. In Burgundy they don't have that high yields because it's very difficult to make good Pinot Noir at ten
Right.
thousand kilograms per hectare, or 10 tons a hectare. So I I don't know how does it go in America. When I visited, what I saw was that the yields were significantly lower than here. Um, well,
Yeah.
which is not necessarily the same. Like in New Zealand, they have yields between 6 ton to 10 ton, but they need to irrigate. So when I went there, there was no irrigation, but maybe there's irrigation now because, it's been very dry. Your end of the woods.
Yeah, well, there is drip irrigation in a lot of places. A lot of wineries are, particularly in Oregon, there's in the Willamette Valley dry farming. But just to get back to your point about champagne and the higher yields, isn't that part of the business model, though? These
No,
are
no, it's
small,
part. Well, it's been part of the new business model. Let's put it that way. Like the champagne business has changed significantly over the years, and it is changing again now. But the huge increase in yields happened after the 70s, with, when we had all the herbicides and fertilizers and everything else that came. And part of the reason why the yields were pushed so much was because it took too long to plant. Well, they were expanding the appellation, but that took a lot longer than actually, upping the yields. So I guess, like with everybody, we get used to what we have. It's very difficult for all of us to all at once, embrace a huge pay drop instead of a pay rise. We are not,
right?
it doesn't work like this. But so it became part of the business model, but it wasn't originally part of the business model. And that business model is set to change because as sales are not picking up at the moment. We got January figures; they haven't improved. Um, and that means that the yields will stay down. And we have also, when we have lower sales, that means that the weight of the stock is so much more, because
Mm.
the Champenois would like to have just under 4 bottles per bottle that they sell. But like I said, we lost 60 million bottles. So that means that stock, we now at five and a bit. So the weight of that stock is a huge financial drain for houses and, some growers as well. So the that model of excessive yields, because 10,000, I can still live with, even though it's a lot. Um, it's quite it's a like it's a little for lots of people. When I first came, people were talking about 20 tons a hectare regularly, which is outside uh you know the authorization to be in AOC. So, this is obviously not a great thing. So in the US, most densities are then, I would say, between 4 and 10,000, or 4 and 8,000 plants a hectare. In Oregon, you said you have high density. How would it be?
It'd be more like 25 to 3,000 plants, I think, between 2 and 3,000
Okay, per acre or per hectare?
acre.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's a bit more. I'm really useless at the conversion to a hectare.
But
So
I think, I don't want to get hung up on densities too much because I think we have different models. And the other thing is that things are changing because of climate change and
yes.
and also the market. And so, I mean,
So for climate change, are you going denser or further away? Here in Champagne,
well,
the tendency is to go, maybe to plant less. Maybe all the studies that come from the CIBC, for climate change, obviously, once we lift up the canopy, so we have more canopy, we can protect the grapes better, because traditionally the vines are very low here. So that is mainly done by, what they call the VSL system. So that is like vin similar. So that means we have up to 2 meters between the rows. So that is what they're talking about. Then, one of the other things is if you have less plants per hectare, you use less chemicals to treat because you treat the plants, so um from an ecological standpoint, that is it. Do they use herbicides and pesticides? Pesticides, I guess, yes. Herbicides, I
I'm
heard
really
Trump
glad,
is pushing glyphosate again, so
despite our current administration's take on climate change and
thank
sustainability.
God I don't live in America.
Oh, the by and large, these regions that I'm talking about, they are heavily invested in sustainability. They do not want greenwashing. And case in point, I mean, New York has one of the most rigorous sustainability programs, and almost every single sparkling wine producer that I have interviewed is part of that sustainability program. California has Napa Green, and may I just take a moment to talk about Oregon?
Hmm.
They are, they in 2025, they started something called Method, Oregon, and it's very similar to
Sorry.
the oh, no, hi, Pixie.
Sorry, my dog is joining the conversation. I'm sorry about this. Yes, continue.
No
So
worries.
Oregon has its version of Napa Green.
Well, no, so Oregon is 70% of Oregon, wineries make 5,000 cases or less,
Okay.
and 52% of them are, the fruit is estate grown, and over 47%, closer to 50% are sustainable. And that
But
those
when you talk about sustainable, is that organic? Because, sustainable can mean so many different things.
right,
Like
and I'm glad
here,
you
for
asked.
instance, the sustainability certification, the French sustainability certification, Haute Valeur Environnementale, so HVE, really doesn't mean anything. Okay. So if you want to talk about like kind of green, me, I'm generally like organic. So I know in America it's difficult to make organic wine because you can't add sulfur, but the grapes could be grown organically. Seeing the Californian climate, and I guess Oregon, when I went in summer. um Washington maybe a bit less, because although Vancouver was still pretty dry, Seattle when I went. So, it may be a little bit more um, like the Mediterranean climates. So, maybe you do not need as many products as we would need in Champagne, where obviously we have a lot of rain, and where we can have a lot of rain. We don't necessarily have it every year. So, when you talk about sustainable, what do you mean with sustainable? Because it's you know if you look after your people, you're sustainable. If you look after your business, you're sustainable. Okay. If you look after the environment, you're sustainable. But how sustainable are you? Those are the things that I'm interested in. I know that there are organic and biodynamic wineries in California and Oregon, but I don't know if it's like as much as here. France, I'm not talking about Champagne here. I'm talking about France. Sits at 22% currently. So they want to get a little bit higher still. So, but that's like almost a quarter. Still means that three-quarters obviously are not, that
Right.
wonderful.
Well, it goes back to the fact that we are 50 states with
Mhm.
different sets of rules and regulations and ethos. Each region has, a different mindset, and some are more committed to sustainability and some are not. But to get back to answer your question about Oregon, what does it mean? Well, they've got different certifications from Demeter, biodynamic, and organic to regenerative. Uh, they have live, low impact viticulture. They have salmon safe because a lot of the vineyards are by rivers. So
Okay.
there's a whole palette of different um, options to choose from. And then Method Oregon, as I started to say earlier, it's a movement that started last year, 2025. And it is similar to, I think you will recognize it as very similar to Corpinat, uh,
Okay.
in
All
that
right.
it is um, it has to be traditional method. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
who follows Method Oregon has to they have to be traditional method. They have to age at least 24 months, but more importantly, they cannot use synthetic pesticides or
Okay.
herbicides. And they have to be transparent in their labeling about the different sustainability certifications that they have.
Okay.
And
And
yeah, so there's no greenwashing.
and that,
It's for real.
and the people have bought into that method,
Well,
Oregon.
it's a movement.
Yeah,
And they
yeah, no, the
just
movement. What I'm saying, yeah,
yeah.
like
Yes,
so. No, because
they're
coffee nuts obviously is very small still. It's growing quickly. Uh, but I think last I heard, I think there's 22, 23 producers. So it's still small. The excellent producers that are in there, it doubled almost, but still, it's more. So I just wanted to know, do you know how much sparkling wine is produced in Oregon compared to still wine?
uh compared to still wine. Well, I do know that about 150,000 cases are made each year of
Okay.
sparkling wine in Oregon.
And these are cases of 12 bottles or six?
12.
12, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
No, because we have six. So,
Yeah.
okay. That's that's quite interesting. And if you were to compare Method Oregon to Champagne, because Champagne, how do you think that they differ, and what are the points where they are similar? So obviously we know they use the same method of making sparkling wine, but anything else? What are the grapes? What are the,
Sure.
you know,
Well, uh, to begin with, they have to use traditional grapes, at least now. And
what is a traditional grape in
I,
Oregon?
I'm sorry, I'm not. I think I'm misspeaking here. I'm making an assumption that they use traditional grapes, but that is Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, which are the top
Okay,
grapes
okay,
grown in Oregon, as
all
well as
right,
Gris and Pinot Blanc and Meunier.
all right. You have
For
Meunier
all,
in Oregon.
yes, yes, we do. Yes. But that having said that, I also know of some other, winemakers who are using untraditional grapes like Syrah.
Okay.
So, but
Sparkling Syrah. I thought it only came from Australia, but why not? Like,
no. Um, so just to touch on something about Oregon versus Champagne, actually Argyle, which was the first sparkling only house in Oregon, was founded in 1987 by a gentleman by the name of Rollin Souls, who he he felt that Oregon was most like and most suited to making traditional methods sparkling wine outside of Champagne. He'd
all
worked in
right.
Switzerland, worked in cold climates, and so he recognized that Oregon was on the same parallel as Champagne and Burgundy, 45th. Um, Also, it's very cold climate, and the other thing about Oregon that makes it a little different is that a lot of the grapes are grown on high slopes.
Okay.
The soils here are different than in Champagne in that it's not you have mostly calcareous. We have a mixture. It's a lot of basalt, volcanic. There's marine sediment as well, and then there's a
Okay.
bit of loess, windblown loess.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of every, that those are the three predominant soil series. And
Okay.
the
And you
uh,
say it's on slopes because, Champagne, we have a lot of slopes.
yes,
We had the slopes traditionally because we didn't have enough sunlight. So it was the way to catch as much sun as possible. Is that
Exactly.
the same reason why you plant on slopes in Oregon, or are there different reasons?
Um,
Maybe there are slopes. I don't know,
no, it's if you ever come, if it's a very hilly, it's a very slopey region, and they just felt
Yeah,
that those were the best places to plant these
yeah.
grapes. And interestingly, as climate change develops, they're going higher and higher with, and
Okay.
so
Is they going higher maybe to have bigger diurnal differences, so to
exactly.
keep the acidity? Maybe I'm not. Well, I visited Oregon a few times. I think I went 4 times, and I went to Willamette Valley every single time that I went, and I. I thought it was very hot. I went in summer. I have to say, I only ever visited in summer, once in September, and the other times was July, August. Um, and I thought it was quite warm. Or it's not that far from California. It's driving quite a few hours, but I was actually surprised that it was that warm. And actually, I went to Portland a lot more because I was selling wine a long time ago. But when I talked about going to see the wine regions, um, I can't remember it being hilly, but I take your word for it that it's hilly, um, and that the grapes obviously are at the top. Um, and if you were to promote the Method Oregon, which is the new product coming out of Oregon, um, how would you convince people to buy it, and who would be, in your opinion, the buyers? Are they similar people that buy champagne, or is it a different audience?
Uh, People who are buying Meta Oregon are buying are champagne drinkers,
Yeah.
aficionados. They're educated about that. They appreciate that. Um, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for an alternative that is of equal quality.
Okay. All right. An
Yeah,
alternative of
like
equal
champagne
quality.
quality.
But champagne quality, I don't particularly want to get into champagne quality, but because there is, you know, um, a plethora of qualities, let's put it that way,
Right.
which seems, from what you say, is not necessarily the case for the Method Oregon, because they have put higher quality criteria as part of the brand. I don't know, the appellation, whatever the thing is called. So, and these people, do you think that people buy it because of, for instance, they think of climate change and they want to buy more locally, so they think that they can buy Method Oregon, knowing that they're going to get high quality sparkling wine that they will be able to enjoy, similar to champagne? Because I know Portland is a big champagne market. So, or is it because, there's different occasions to drink Method Oregon than there is to drink champagne, for instance? I don't really know. What is your take on that?
Well, I think the market, I think the whole idea behind Method Oregon is that it is going to be it's an international product. It's
Okay,
not
they wanna sell it overseas,
absolutely,
like Cap Classic.
absolutely. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
No, it's, they,
So it's coming for us, in other words, in every market that we have, is what you're telling me, Lynn.
yes. I mean, look at the Oregon Pinot,
Yes.
Burgundy, Burgundy got
Yes.
on board. They saw it, and now it's Champagne's chance.
Yeah, no, I'm
Or-
just, I hadn't quite, gotten to that part that no, it's not only coming for us in the US market, which still is Champagne's first export market. So, it's hitting home, but it may come in a shop near us here in France, or at least to the UK, which is the second biggest market, or Italy, which is a big sparkling wine market, or even probably Asia, because, there's Japan, which is a great market. Australia is a good market. So, it can go everywhere, is what you are saying. That's the
Yeah.
idea. And what volumes are we talking about? Just to make sure how bad the competition's going to be.
Oh, well, I mean, in early days, but
Early
I
days,
think
but you have room for expansion. Is that what you say?
well, obviously, yeah. I mean, I think that they want to uh get, I mean, 300, 500,000 cases maybe
Okay, 300, 500,000 cases for export or in total?
in
For
total.
export. Oh, in total, in total. Okay, all
Just,
right.
and beyond and beyond.
And beyond. Yes. All right. Okay. I have the Champenois listening. The few ones that speak English. Uh, they better watch out. They were quite shocked actually to taste Domaine Evron, I think it's called, the Tétanger domain
Oh,
in England, and that it was good. I was like, okay, like, so now they most of them agreed that Californian sparkling was good, but now there's Oregon sparkling coming, and as far as I know, there's no Champenois at the moment making wine in Oregon or sparkling wine in Oregon.
to be continued. Dot dot
To be
dot.
continued. So at the moment, not, but maybe afterwards. All right. Well,
I mean, I think the whole idea is that it's to celebrate the winemakers of Oregon.
yes.
They don't
And
want to.
if I was to buy a Method Oregon, which is the one to look out for? Which is the one which is going to come to a market near me, knowing I'm on the other side of the world from you? I can go to the UK or Ireland if you want. Okay, that's not that far.
That's really tough, but just the founders of the group, I can name a couple off the top of my head. Lytle Barnett, Corollary.
Okay.
They have a distinctive orange label, and then well, Domaine
So
Willamette.
they're coming for the Clicquot label as well, in other words.
Well, it was inspirational, And then Domaine Willamette is
Yes.
um that's a by you mean they take their inspiration. They're a lot they do a lot with biodynamics, but Domaine Willamette, and then
I visited the
or-
mainland a while
yeah.
ago. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for this. Thank you. This was really interesting because, uh, like, I think a lot of people, I did not know the breadth and width of American sparkling wine. I think we all learned something at the end, that it's coming for us in a market near us, maybe even here in France. Knowing that. Even in the sparkling wine category, the sales have been dropping, but foreign sparkling wine has been going up. So, it's maybe not such a, and Cremant has been doing quite well. So it's really maybe not a good thing for champagne. But on the other hand, I do believe that when the competition gets tougher, that is an opportunity to and also a challenge to reclaim your first position. Sometimes you need to be dethroned to to want it badly enough again to go get it.
Yeah, there you go. But keep in mind that Oregon is just paying homage to Champagne, but
Yeah. Well,
keeping the North
it's
spirit.
great that they're paying homage to champagne, but when they take ourselves, that's not so great. You see what I'm saying? All right. Well, thank you so very much, Lynn. This was really, really
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and I will see you soon for another Substack Live. There's a few people I haven't decided yet who's coming next week, but there's a few options. It probably will be about sales. Okay. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Abiento.
Bye. Bye-bye.